Hi, it's Joan. Today I'm going to be watching Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 4, Too Close to Home. Not thrilled with some of the stuff that went down in the previous episode. I'm kind of apprehensive about how they're going to explore it in this one, but I do adore this show. I adore these characters. That is the main reason I was not happy with stuff in the previous episode, was because I didn't feel like it was true to the characters as we'd known them. But let's see if we can get back on track with this episode. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction and all of my reactions to this show on my Patreon, and let's go. And Mannheim was really trying to say he hadn't changed the world or made a difference with the number of lives he has saved across the world.
You start with the perimeter and you work your way in. Be careful.
He needs a suit or something so he looks less like a teenage boy.
You don't get to use your super hearing to keep tabs on me just because I'm sick.
A little overprotective right now. I get it, especially with his nightmares and everything.
This is mine! One day, you have 1,000 jobs. Not in my color, alright?
Children!
What is wrong with you two?
He stole my hoodie!
If you need something, text me, not your mom. Do not bother your mother with anything.
Idiot. Dumbass.
Boys.
I know what you're thinking.
That we had a deal?
I am just reading this amazing article about how Bruno Mannheim invested $200 million in hot.
I love that in like 2 minutes she wasn't in his sight. She escaped her like depressing but I guess useful cancer research, and it's now like back at work.
Medical center 5 years ago.
Did you have to buy the loudest blender they had?
Hey, listen.
I mean, surely by now he'd be renting a place that had a spare bedroom for the kids when they stay over. Like, I know he's not like rich. I know he doesn't make loads of money, but he is like the fire chief. So it's not like he makes minimum wage.
Sarah,
I don't want to talk to her.
you don't hang up on your mother.
She shouldn't have slapped me.
Oh. She slapped you?
That's why I was so upset last night.
It was very out of character.
Wow.
Both what Sarah said and the completely over the top reaction.
She's just been so pushy lately, and then I called her out on it, and
Listen,
Sarah, sweet girl, I love you. And what you said did not deserve being slapped by any shape of the world. And I think it was extremely out of character for Lana to have done that, and I'm still pissed off with it personally. But it's happened, so we're going forward with it having happened. You didn't just call her out on being pushy. You said that's why Dad cheated on you. You blamed her for the thing your father did that destroyed your family. Now, slapping you is never okay, and I still think it was out of character. But the reality is, the realistic response to what you just said was for her to walk away from you, go to her room, and cry herself to sleep as you listen to her sobbing. Like,
I'm sorry.
didn't deserve being
You're
hit.
stuck in the middle of this, me. Hey, I'm coming over.
But it pisses me off because he has every right to be storming over there furious, because if somebody hit my child, I would be furious. Like, totally separate like, situation. But when I was like 2 or 3, like, my dad would like ask me to do something and I said no and like stuck up my tongue and like blew a raspberry at him, and like I never ever said no to anything. I think I was like testing boundaries or something when I was like 3 or 4, and like he spanked me, like he hit me like once, and like my parents didn't do that, and my mom was furious with him and she was like, we do not hit our child for any reason. So like I get this man going over there and being furious. Obviously, like, again, did not deserve a slap. Sarah wasn't just being an average brat. She wasn't just saying, oh, Mom, you're so pushy. You don't let me sneak out to parties. That's so unfair. She was being very cruel. Like, that is a comment that once you make it, the realistic response is Lana's face falls. She steps back. She doesn't know what to say. And Sarah is like, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry, Mom. Like, slapping her immediately makes it so that what Sarah said, we just forget that she ever said that, which obviously, like, I'm not excusing the slap, and I still think that Kyle has every right to go over there and be cross with Lana, but it pisses me off because I feel like in this situation, other than, like, obviously the marriage broke up and Kyle now lives in his depressing place when he could have a slightly bigger depressing place, but he kind of just got away with it. I mean, not he didn't get away with it because his life is different now, but, like, people in general acted like, oh, never mind, you made a little mistake, never mind, you made a boo-boo, instead of it being like, you destroyed Lana's life, and she is clinging to those pieces and picking it up. And now it's like, oh, isn't Lana the bad guy? And that annoys me from a writing standpoint, because I feel like it's just so out of character. And I really didn't want to be talking about this again, but I knew I would be. And like, given what has happened within the show, Kyle has every right to be like, I'm coming over there, all angry, ready to be like, you do not hit my child. Because, like, of course he does. But it just pisses me off. So the Jeremy Irons of this world worked for them and gave them his technology.
Hey, John.
You let go when she was against you at the warehouse. Something about how they were made look familiar, so I analyzed their construction. Clark,
This world's
I
Jeremy
think that
Irons
tech
worked
was
with
made by the
him.
me of this earth.
I'm so intrigued about whether we're going to find out the Jeremy Irons of this earth just got involved with the wrong people. Anybody can have their life go in a different direction. You know, it doesn't mean he was evil. It just means he was extremely misguided and became a shit person. Or did Mannheim say, like, well, kill your whole family unless you do this for me? Because that is a less evil?
We've kind of been investigating Mannheim.
I asked you to leave it alone.
Lois and Mannheim have a history. She thought if she could prove he killed your doppelganger, we could finally put him behind bars.
Darlene already lost her brother. She doesn't need to get dragged into this.
Hey, John. Is everything okay?
He wants to be cross with her about going to see his
Nothing I
sister,
can
but
wait.
he's also like, she's
I
going
need
to
to get back
Kansas
to the
City.
shop.
Fuck, I can't be cross with her.
Feel better.
Is there anything you and I need to discuss?
Did they call the police on this man? Because if they didn't, that's not actually going to help Candace. This is a very unhealthy environment for her to be in. And I will say I do not know what the alternative is. Foster care in potentially different like away from the school and all her friends, maybe just as bad. So maybe this is actually the best place for Candace. I genuinely do not know all the ins and outs of the situation and the options. They have also changed her dad from what he was last season, and I guess we can see that as Candace tells people, oh, my dad's sick, he can't work, rather than kind of the truth, because the truth is more, she doesn't want to admit the truth to herself.
Not spreading any lies. Really? Because I heard you thought I was dealing XK, which just isn't true. See, I'm not that kind of person. You hear me?
Your daughter is.
I said, do you hear? You don't want everyone hearing that you're a crap dad? I don't like liars.
Call the
Keep it up.
police.
You'll get more than my fist.
He just hit a kid. Call the police. He just assaulted you. Call the police.
I don't need you to protect my feelings. What I need is for you and Lois to listen when I ask you not to do something.
I know. I'm sorry.
Mannheim is a bad guy who should be taken down, though, so, like...
He doesn't know you exist.
But Bruno Mannheim might. That assassin of his saw me at Lana's office. What if they come looking for me?
It's
If I'm
true.
gonna keep Nat safe, I need to know everything I can about the me of this earth.
I feel like maybe Superman, as Superman, needs to visit the sister, like with John Henry, like outside, and say, I need to talk to you about something. Then there is this thing, there is the concept of the multiverse. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There are other Earths, and on another Earth, a version of your brother lived a life, and he ended up on this Earth, and he would like to meet you. Like, I feel like that is how we should approach this, because if her dead brother just knocks on her door, she's gonna have a heart attack for one thing. She's gonna think, wait, you faked your death? I've been warning you all this time and you're not really dead. You're a criminal and you faked. Like, I feel like, obviously, she'll also be very happy to see him because he's her brother, but you know, I think it's gonna be a lot messier than if maybe she's prepped before she sees him.
You're not serious. That curly mop is just a big billboard telling the world who you really are.
Baby boy.
Then I'll be more careful.
Nope, can't take that risk.
I mean, to be fair, it's more suspicious if those pictures exist and then the next day he suddenly has no hair. There are pictures of him with the hair that already exist. It's a bit late for that.
Look, first thing
I'm not doing it.
don't be stubborn. This is important.
No,
Say no.
No, if my dad wanted me to cut my hair, he would have told me.
He's got enough on his plate right now. Both your parents.
You
do.
don't get to play that card.
Not responsible enough to be a hero.
Cutting his hair is not the end of the
Know
world.
what that means?
Are you gonna screw? Oh, need to go back in time and really appreciate that statement. Like, are you gonna go back and scrub the internet of every single picture of Jordan with this hair? Because they already are out there. They exist. There is evidence of this boy having that mop of hair, as you call it. Like, having it cut now might draw less attention if people start analysing it. But if these people are the same people who can't work out that Clark is different because he has glasses on and glasses off, they're not going to figure out that this hair is the
Right
same.
now, both your.
Like, you even know what that means?
You disrespect me like that. I'm a 4-star general in the U.S. Armed Forces.
Fuck you! You're a terrible grandfather. And father.
That was fast.
Just me, Mom.
Oh, baby
You're not even
boy.
gonna say hello?
I took it out by playing basketball.
Tell her the truth, sweetheart.
That looks like more than an elbow. Did you get into a fight? What aren't you telling me?
She's still your mom. Sorry, this is like... Clark shouldn't have said that. I mean, when he was saying it, I kind of was thinking you shouldn't tell kids to not talk to their mum if they need her. You could have said, come to me first. If I'm not there, talk to your mum. Like, they still need their mum. She's doing okay right now. Like, there could well be days where she's barely able to, like, stop puking and she just needs to lie in bed with the curtains closed or something. Like, there could be days where things are very bad in which you would say, do not bother your mum. Obviously, you want to encourage resting, but her going and sitting down, her brain churning about the fact that something happened to her son, and she doesn't know what it is, and she doesn't know who did it, and she doesn't know what's going on, isn't going to relax her. But I also, sorry, I also think it's quite realistic in a lot of ways, the kind of overprotection that Clark is doing in his sort of trying to protect her, which again is just human nature, Kryptonian nature. You don't want to protect people you love. And for Lois, it's almost like she's being sidelined as just the ill person when she doesn't feel that ill yet.
Sarah should have never called you pushy.
That's not why I slapped her.
Not true, right, Lana?
Look, it doesn't matter.
It does matter to me.
She was just trying to hurt me.
She should have never thrown my mistakes in your face.
Okay, I still do not enjoy that they had Sarah say that. I really do not enjoy it that they had Lana hit her. That is never going to be something that I'm going to be like, great writing, guys. You know these characters. But I will say that I'm glad they're not completely glossing over the fact that what Sarah said was extraordinarily hurtful. Like I said, does not deserve being slapped. Like, fuck no. But, you know, if Lana hadn't hit her, Sarah would be feeling so guilty for having said that to her mum. And secondly, I think Sarah is feeling a bit, that's why she didn't tell her dad, because she knew it was a bad thing to say, but it never in any world. So I also feel like they need to both somehow talk to Sarah and be like, okay, I mean, maybe not Lana, maybe Kyle should do this at this point. What you said, how dare you, unforgivable, terrible thing to say. Like, I'm not unforgivable because she's that kid, but you know, like, terrible thing to say, like, I'm really disappointed in you that you said that to your mum. Secondly, even though you said something really hurtful to your mom, you didn't deserve to be slapped, okay? It's not your fault. You didn't deserve that. Like, it's a really complex situation. And I feel like so far they're handling it okay. I hope they continue to handle it okay. I still think it was like, we want to give some drama here. I know we'll have a moment where Sarah says something really hurtful to Lana and Lana hits her. That's some drama for our season. Like, I don't think it was the best writing choice still, but at least they're dealing with it okay. And that, you know, Kyle isn't trying to be like, I don't care what Sarah said to you, you should never have hit her, which, again, both of these characters have agreed she should never have hit her. I'm not saying that what Sarah said was enough to be hit. But, like, it kind of... I'm glad they're treating it as a serious moment and that he is reassuring her that, like, what Sarah said was out of line. Again, not excusing what Lana did, but...
Where were you?
Went to John Henry's.
Stop trying to shield her too much.
Poker face.
I know. Like, he
I
just
love him
discovered
because he's a
Bruno's
terrible
technique.
poker face and terrible lying face to the people he loves, but he's also got the biggest secret of all time. It's such a funny dynamic. I wibbled,
By the other
making
John
sure I didn't
Henry,
wibble
so
off to the side.
Don't get to tell our boys not to bother me with their problems. I am their mother. Their problems are my problems.
Okay, babe, I just thought you could use a break from all the headaches.
From having two teenagers who are constantly messing up, probably, I don't know, he wouldn't tell me.
See, I think in Clark's defense, he didn't anticipate there being any actual big problems today, other than like, I want that sweatshirt. No, that's my sweatshirt. Like, that level of problems, do not bother your mother with, you know? But, like, big problems, he didn't think they'd
Because you
have.
are acting like I'm too fragile. I am a mother and a wife and a reporter. Cancer doesn't change me. Telling people to treat me differently is not okay.
Good.
All right, I'm sorry.
He just tried to protect
It's all right.
you.
I've been looking into how Mannheim got his hands on your blood.
And?
It came from the DOD.
Well, yeah, of course it did. That's the
How is
only
that even
time he's
possible?
been vulnerable to needles.
When you were hospitalized, it was medically necessary.
At that time, what have they been doing with it since then?
Yeah, and like, how much did they need? That is way more than's medically necessary, right?
Told me part of the story then.
She hit me. What does the rest even matter?
Because of what you said, Sarah. Tried to
Both are
weaponize my
terrible.
affair just to apologize.
Yeah, probably to make herself feel better.
Sarah. She wants
She
to
loves
fix this.
you. Why this season has Sarah suddenly decided Lana is the worst person to have ever lived? Like in previous seasons, they were so close. Okay, first season to begin with, they weren't. They became so close. And obviously there will be some friction between teenagers and parents. There wasn't with me. And the relationship they gave Sarah and Lana, I don't see ending up like this. And obviously, I'm not saying right now she's upset because her mom hit her. Obviously, right now she can think the worst of her mother because of what happened. But even before that, the reason the whole fight happened was because Sarah was acting like Lana was the worst person on the planet, as though none of the last couple of years happened. So what I'm hoping, I mean, I want Sarah to be okay. I'm really hoping that we're going to, from this point, delve into Sarah's mental health and maybe why she's lashing out at her mum and why she's viewing the world like this, that there is actually something going on with her that like we can work through to help her. Because if it is just she decided to be a bratty teen and decide her mum was evil, it's such bad writing, and I do not understand the relationship between teenage girls and their mother, especially when they've been through something like the father cheating and leaving the family. Like,
They found her on her knees, giving you CPR. Trying to save her child's life.
it doesn't make what she did to you
And
okay.
even when the doctors
Lawson.
told her that you were
Everything's changed.
no.
Struggling with
You don't
that.
live with us anymore, and
It's not Lana's fault.
I just see Mom differently.
But you wouldn't want to be judged on your worst day, now would you? So maybe let's not judge your mom on hers, okay?
Still don't like I think they needed to do a better job of building to the moment, of building this. I suppose they're now trying to say that Sarah is a teenager going through the struggle, her parents splitting up, and kind of blaming her mum for it because her mum was ultimately the one who didn't let him come home and made the family break up. But again, having been the child of divorce when I was a year or two older than Sarah, yes, the circumstances were somewhat different, but having been through it, I do not blame the parent who was cheated on. I blame the parent who cheated. And I hope Sarah is still seeing her therapist even more regularly than she was before, because she needs it to help her process these feelings she's going through.
I'm not your brother. I'm not your brother. I look like him, but I'm a different person. From a different world.
See, I feel like Superman or someone could have braced her for this.
Like the place with the square sun.
I need more information.
All I know is when my brother got out of the service, things were good for a while.
I also think this conversation in public is such a bad idea, because if Bruno Mannheim is watching your sister, or you, he's now going to assume you are in contact and think she is someone to target.
And then they weren't.
You get that ring from my darling? Back in my world, we were really close.
Same here. We were pretty much inseparable.
I currently think John Henry was blackmailed, of this world, was blackmailed into doing it, and that's why he was like, stay away from me, you're better off without me, because he thought he was putting his family in danger.
Control my fault.
It's Candace's dad.
Emmett Pergandy did this?
We killed this man.
Don't look at him, look at me.
Listen, whatever story he may have told.
Don't you dare call my son a liar, you miserable coward.
Watch.
Men like you don't scare me.
Maybe I need to teach all three of you a lesson.
Mom?
This be getting back.
Call the police. That took a lot of strength.
Okay. Mom?
That was very scary. You were very brave. You've been doing a bit much. That's okay.
I'm fine.
Just rest. It's okay.
We tried.
You never should have kept my blood in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Especially without telling me.
After you've recovered from your
Exactly.
incident with Miss Olsen Greedy.
I love him. Like, genuinely, if they'd asked him for his permission, he could have actually said okay. And if they genuinely only wanted it to treat him in the future, there could have been some kind of a system set up where, like, only he knew the code, or, like, you know, he had the blood and Lois knew where it was so we could get it if we needed it. If that was really the only reason they were keeping it. Also, did we check that the blood in the vials was Superman's blood still and hadn't been swapped?
He's at it again. Even sending Superman to my home.
Technically, she sent Superman to Metropolis. You invited Superman to your home. Get your facts straight.
I'm so disappointed in myself.
Kyle gets to be the hero. I mean, he's not an evil person. He's an alright dude, other than his being a piece of shit.
About what I said. I didn't mean it. I know. I don't know why I said it.
What happened?
We went to talk to Candace's dad.
He's the one who hit you?
Clark's like, my turn.
And stole my truck.
He threatened Mom with a gun.
This is not a job for Superman.
He's not going.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Like, I love this one by one. Like, it would have been even better if Jordan had found out about it first, and he'd been the first one to be like, you touch my brother again, I'll kill you. Like, we just get this series like escalating. Next, Grandpa's gonna be there.
About him, but he just wouldn't listen.
I knew a public place was a bad thing to do.
Got it.
The faith he has in his suit. I mean, if they wanted to detonate her, they could have done it already.
Clark, are you okay?
Nope.
I mean, telling the
You
police
hit my
would still be
son.
better.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
Don't do anything though, because if you hit him or anything vaguely threatening, he probably will call the police. Or actually, maybe he won't, because then the whole thing will come out. But
I'd really rather not do this in front of your daughter.
You think she hasn't seen this before?
you can't do that in public. You're the weedy dude. You have to at least stagger a little bit.
Now, I will come for you.
I mean,
Okay.
if John and Candace ever get married, it's going to be an awkward wedding.
Now leave.
Poor Candace.
Did my dad really hurt John? Can I see him?
Yeah, of course.
You can stay with us if you want to, honey. You don't have to go home.
Where?
Like, the boys can share a bed. If we only have one spare bedroom, which apparently we do, the boys can share. You can have yours. We will make sure there is no funny business going on. But like,
And John, we have 30 seconds before it detonates.
I got you. I got you. Hold on. Hold on. Wait.
God, even using a bomb that he designed.
4, 3.
You've got to do it. It's always on one.
I'm sorry, darling. I'm so sorry.
I think that's very possibly why the original John did it. Made the bombs and everything.
I should kill you right now. And not just that sister of yours here in Metropolis, but the whole family down in New Orleans. Anything happens to me, they all die.
That is, I reckon,
Just waiting for the order.
why John Henry did what he did.
If I see you or your war suit again, you're gonna find out exactly the kind of man I am.
I
mean,
know what you are.
we already know
Then
that
it
you're a
shouldn't
piece
be
of
a
shit.
problem.
Stuck on the shoe of everyone in Metropolis.
Consider it a favor.
He was just trying to take care of me.
Those were his decisions, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he's all I've got.
You have us.
You do.
And until you figure everything out, you can stay here.
Seriously, for real?
I can. I mean, you have cancer.
Yeah, but it doesn't get to decide this. I do.
Yeah.
And Clark.
I love this family.
You can stay in Jonathan's room and help.
They are just so good. I really love them a lot.
It's just until she finds something permanent.
How old is she? Like, can we help her find something? I know the Kents aren't like super wealthy. Like, a lot of the money's gone into the farm. They bought it back, etc. So I know that like they can't easily afford it. But like, you have 1,001 things from your brother. Sell one of his illicitly gained things and give Candace enough money to like get by a little bit or something.
It's gonna be a. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you too.
I love them so much. This family deserves the world.
Heard how you treated your grandfather the other day.
Told you about that?
Yeah, he did.
I'm sorry. Like, okay, again, I'm probably a little biased because I do not like their grandfather, but he was being really mean to Jordan.
It's not okay for you to talk to an adult like that. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So, you are going to apologize to him, and then the two of you are going back to that barber shop.
No!
Look, your granddad's right. If you want to keep being a hero...
No! You don't have the right to make him do that. Make him a little helmet thing he has to wear that hides his fucking hair. Don't make him change his appearance to do this. Like, obviously they're trying to say, like, at the end of the day, obviously, yes, wanting to be a hero and saving lives, if that's what he wants to do, it is more important than what his hair looks like. I don't think at the end of it, it's like the end. But at the same time, he is a 16-year-old boy who is allowed to look however he wants to look, and you don't get to tell him one way or the other how to look. The fact that you have glasses on and no one can tell you're Superman, you take those glasses off and everyone's like, it's Superman. They're not going to notice if his hair is a thing.
You've got to be careful.
And even though I believe you'd benefit from a nice trim, maybe there's another option.
Like what?
Mm-hmm. Thank
Keep that hair of
you.
yours in check.
This is what I've been saying.
This is awesome.
It's not
There are
even
less
the best
extreme
part.
options.
Belonged to my dad. He flew a P-38 Lightning over Berlin in the Second World War. Even earned a Flying Cross.
That's lovely.
I want you to have them. Grandpa.
Jonathan doesn't get anything special, any special souvenirs. I know that
Plus,
is
I think they'll
lovely.
tie together the...
Thank you.
I
I'll
said
take
there
care
was a
of it, I
way
promise.
that this could be done that wasn't shaving his head.
Actually, I already have one. His hospital. If I sign up as a chemo patient there, I would be right in the middle
Oh,
of Hawke's
no.
Bay.
Looking for a sanitarium.
It's promoting as the best facility in the country. He's not going to let anything bad happen to me there. It's too public.
I don't like this. Because also, surely he's going to view that as her coming after him
You think
still.
she's really just coming to Hobbs Bay for treatment?
No.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know what she wants.
Got someone in mind to help out with that?
Me.
That was very ominous, but not what I thought he was going to say. So I'm sorry that I laughed. He is very scary. I know the actor as well, so I like him, but like, I was thinking he was going to like, oh my god, who's he going to pick? Who's he going to send? And then he was like, me. And it made me laugh because I didn't think he was going to say that. Okay, I'm feeling more positive after this episode than I did the previous one. I will die on the hill of thinking that entire altercation between Lana and Sarah was completely out of character, was way too extreme for what either of those characters would do or say in those moments. But I will give them credit for how they then handled it. So, still a huge black mark in my opinion. Like, I think it was lazy writing. It was like, oh, we want to have this drama and we want to show the really good kind of working through it and how a family can work through such a terrible moment and how it doesn't have to define you. It doesn't mean Lana is an abusive parent. It doesn't mean Sarah is the worst daughter ever. It just means that they both made mistakes. And Lana's is worse than Sarah's. I'm just making that clear. Like, I'm never trying to say that, yes, Sarah deserved it. She did not. But I still just think it was extreme and out of character. And Lana just wouldn't have said that. Wouldn't have done. I don't see her doing that. I don't care how stressed she is. She's not someone that regularly slaps people. Like, there have been other instances where she'd have slapped people that weren't her child. And okay, that maybe there's an argument to be had that it's kind of because that's how she was treated when she was younger, and so she's kind of continuing the cycle. But I just don't buy it, and I don't like it. And I already talked about this to death, but I just don't think it was realistic. But I will give them credit for the way they dealt with it. They dealt with it very maturely, with Lana fully accepting responsibility and being like, telling Kyle the truth. Like, well, yeah, you know, Sarah didn't call me, I didn't hit her because she called me pushy. I hit her because she said it was my fault, you cheated on me. But Lana still being like, and that does not matter, I was in the wrong. And I really appreciated, I mean, I didn't think Lana would have any other response because I don't think Lana would have ever done it in the first place. But if she were to be possessed by a weird mind-boggling alien that made her think it was her and then she did do it, that is what she would say. And I did appreciate Kyle in this episode. I will say, I know I call him a piece of shit all the time, and that is because, in my opinion, if you are a human being in a relationship and you cheat on someone, on your significant other with another person, you're a huge piece of shit. And you made that choice. Now, if you are a child and you do this, like you're in a teenage relationship, you're not going to be a piece of shit forever. You're a temporary piece of shit until you learn from it. When you're an adult, yeah, you can still learn from it, but that piece of shit label is not going anywhere. It is a thing you did as an adult with an adult brain. I do think Kyle is a good father, and I think that has been in question recently. And I do think he regrets it. So he is not the worst kind of piece of shit, but he's still a piece of shit. I will say I like the way he handled this episode, both going to talk it over with Lana, because like being cross with her and like telling her it was unacceptable, but I like that he let her talk. He didn't just go over there to say, don't you ever touch my child again, kind of like the way they treated Candace's dad, because he knew Lana and knew this was out of character for her and wanted to find out why it happened, as well as making it very clear that like that is not happening again. So I think they wrote he's such a flip-flop of a character, because we first met him and I was like, waste of space. Then he came in, maybe not that, but I was like, the family would be better off without him. Then he really pulled through. Then we found out he was the hugest piece of shit of all time. He has handled a lot of the breakup very badly, very selfishly, so he remained being a little piece of shit. He did do very well in this episode. I like that he made it very clear to Lana that this was unacceptable, but she also was like, yeah, I know it was. And then that he wanted to know the full story. I like that he called Sarah out on it. He still made very sure to make it clear to her that did not mean it was that she deserved to be hit, did not make it her fault what happened, but that made it very clear that, you know, she was not to blame, but that she also did owe her mum an apology, and that was a very unfair thing to do. I also like that he talked to Sarah in the way of like, you know, it was your mother's worst moment, don't define her by it, like she loves you more than anything. Obviously, if she were to ever do anything even vaguely similar again, we would have a very different conversation, but it is completely out of character. And I like that Sarah kind of admitted that she's struggling with how everything's changed and everything's different. I don't think it's realistic that she would blame her mother at 16. Sophie could blame her mother. If all Sophie knows is she's picked up, I don't know if she's overheard bits and bobs, and she's picked up maybe that Daddy wanted to come home and Mummy said no, Sophie could blame her mum. At 16, when you know about the affair, you blame the person that had the affair. You don't blame the affair on person. So I still think that was kind of weird writing, but at least they acknowledge Sarah is struggling. And I would like to see that explored going forwards. More than just the repairing of her relationship with Lana, I want to see like more references to Sarah going to therapy, to Sarah figuring out what is happening with her family. I'm also glad that Kyle didn't try to throw like, I'm the better parent, you suck. That he really was just trying to get to the bottom of what happened and resolve it in a way that was best for everybody. Kyle can be a good character. It's what makes it so disappointing when he is a piece of shit. Like I said, I don't think this is in character for Lana and Sarah still, and I will die on that hill. But this episode, how they handled what had happened, was in character, if that makes sense. Like, this thing would never have happened. Like, it would be like Lois or Clark hitting one of their kids. They just wouldn't do it. These people don't do that. And I refuse to believe that is the most stressed that Lana has ever been. The first time her kids have ever pushed back or challenged her. And like, yes, that was probably the most hurtful thing Sarah has ever said, but I just think if the cycle of abuse continuing argument was kind of a thing that Lana was why Lana did it, she would have done it before. And then dealt with it and then gone to therapy and whatnot. But yeah. I hated that scene in the last episode so much, even before Lana hit her, and then I despised it even more. I do like how they dealt with it. I just really feel like there should have been more of a realistic build up to it. And I will be intrigued to see where it goes from here. I hope we get more of an explanation, more of a investigation even into Sarah's mental health and Lana's from this point onwards. But at least they handled it fairly well. Then we have Jonathan going to see Candace's dad. I mean, admittedly, Jonathan went to go and see Candace. The minute he showed up at her house, I was like, this is not a place you should be going. Now, obviously, for that man, hitting someone else, I mean, hitting anybody is unforgivable. I make it a mission of saying whenever it comes up, one punch can kill. Doesn't matter how strong you are, whatever. Where if you hit in like there are certain places if you hit you can kill. The person can fall backwards and hit their head on something else and die. Then there are people in prison right now who have killed a friend because they both got drunk, had a little bit of an argument, and one of them hit the other one and he died. Like, people's lives end because of one punch. Obviously this show wasn't trying to mitigate the punch. It wasn't trying to be like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. This show treated it like a huge deal. But just, there is never an excuse for hitting anybody. And for hitting someone else's kid, also no excuse. I feel like they should have called the police. Like, yes, it ended up with Candace living with them anyway. Obviously, I imagine she'd have ended up in foster care. I don't know how old she is. If she's also like 15, 16, she would have ended up in some kind of foster care situation. But they could have potentially said, we'll take her in. Again, they'd have to do checks and everything. But I don't think a man should get to steal a car and then assault a child and just live with it. Personally, if someone punched my child, that someone would be getting a visit from the police imminently. But I liked the way they handled it. They handled finding out what happened, the way Lois confronted him, and, you know, saying to him, like, you know, you're pathetic, you don't scare me, because he is pathetic. Anyone who hits a kid is pathetic. Anyone whose daughter feels like she has to sell drugs in order to support the family when he's not sick, he's fine, it's a piece of shit. He's pathetic. He's worse than Kyle. Like, he is a piece of shit. Whereas Kyle's just a piece of shit. You know, like, there are different ranks. So I like the way they kind of handled that, and the boys trying to want to protect their mum and everything. Now, obviously, the minute the gun came out, that is scary. That isn't scary in the sense of, like, oh, you are now a scary man. Oh, I'm scared of you. It's like, okay, you are, like, a really pathetic guy who has a dangerous weapon. Pathetic guys, dangerous weapon. Terrible combination, because they think it makes them big, strong man. This is why no guns is a better society. Abolish guns. Don't have guns. No guns for ordinary citizens. But yeah, that was scary. And then the way Clark was immediately like, I must go. I mean, Clark really blew his cover just then. The way, not like, I think him dodging the punch and like putting on the table, like that you could argue, oh, I've been a reporter in dangerous situations. I have training. Like that could be explained. The way the guy shoved him with all of his might, and Clark was like, I am tree. I do not move. He really blew his cover. If anyone in that room had been like, you know, every time Superman came to Smallville, there was something about him that seemed familiar, and it's you. They would know it now. But I love the way he put the guy in his place. I do also think Lois did rattle him with her refusal to back down, her refusal to be scared, her refusal to, like, the reason he showed that gun was because she rattled him. So I like that they kind of took him down a peg, and then he's just driven off into the wilderness. At this point, call the police. Candace does not have a parent right now. Obviously, I mean, at 16, I don't know, could you just choose to live with a friend? I don't know. But, and when they were like, oh yeah, well, she can stay with us until she finds something. How old is this baby girl? Protect the baby girl. I know they're also going through a lot, and they're not really a rich family, but you know. But that was very sweet when they offered to let her stay, and that they made sure that she knew she was not to blame for any of it. I don't know how much she fully believed that, because she's been in this unhealthy family for a very long time. But yeah, that was a lot. And I like the fact that they brought up, you know, it being very wrong of Clark to tell the boys to not bother their mother, it being wrong of Clark to try and absolutely protect her and shelter her from everything, because it's still her life, it's still her family. There will be days, probably with chemo, where she can barely get out of bed, and on those days probably best to not bother your mother unless it's like an absolute life and death emergency, because like she's barely managing at the day. But on days like this, where other than overexerting herself she's doing okay, you can go to your mother for help. So I like that she both told him like that is unacceptable, and he apologized and she accepted it. Like, I think they do a really good job in this show of not making the family perfect and shiny rainbow people who never do a foot wrong. They make mistakes, even well-intentioned ones, but they call each other out on them and then they forgive each other. It's really well done. I do think Jordan probably can't have apologized to his granddad because you can't go around saying that, but I also don't think a lie was told. I'm sure he's done some heroic stuff. I mean, maybe a lie was slightly told, but he's a shit granddad. And the entire way he sprung the trip to the hairdressers on Jordan, he didn't talk to the parents first. He then was like, "You're an idiot. You've got to get your stupid hair cut or else, bitch." Like, that's not how you do it. If you really think he has to, you talk about it with Clark and Lois first. You bring him there and you say, "Look, I know you like your hair, but really it's a safety issue, whatever." I like the fact that at the end he just gave him a suit. Finally, like I've been saying that, like him flying around with his hair on a hoodie, he looks like a teenage boy. You just cover the hair with a hat or a helmet, and the hair would no longer be a problem. If people can't figure out Clark is Superman, people aren't going to figure out Jordan's Superboy. But I'm glad that they made the suit and that he gave him the goggles. It was very, very sweet. I do feel like, bless him, Jonathan doesn't get half as many wholesome family heirloom moments, but no, it was lovely in the end. And I hope they had fun fishing. My granddad used to like fishing. I never went with him, because I don't like fishing. He'd always throw the fish back, but like, it seems boring to me. Just sit and read somewhere. You don't have to do the fishing. Mannheim, again, I feel like, as always with this show, I'm more invested in the characters and their interrelationships than in the big bad and the plot. Obviously that changes the more you get into it, but he is an interesting one to figure out. We're kind of slowly unpeeling the layers of what he's all about. I hate the idea of Lois going to his hospital. I mean, she's right. They aren't going to openly, like, not treat her, give her a placebo, give her poison. You know, it's not going to be like that, but I also just think, like, your health really should come first, and for that you should go to, like, not a place of someone that hates you. It's also, if we're trying not to let him know we're looking into him, maybe not obviously looking into him. Obviously it's not necessarily John Henry going after him, it's just Lois, but if he knows they know each other, like, it's a bit messy. And then John Henry seeing his sister. I'm glad, like, obviously, you know, I still think that maybe getting Superman, especially because Clark could have flown there for 5 minutes and then left, to, like, break it to her. Like, the concept of other worlds isn't totally new, so that's why she wasn't, like, in disbelief, like, "No, you're lying to me," or whatever. But that was a lot. That was very intense. And then him having to save her life, extremely intense. I do definitely think, even more than I did before, that John Henry was blackmailed of this Earth into doing what Mannheim wanted. Like, maybe it started off with him selling the technology, maybe not realizing just how bad a guy he was dealing with, or just what it was actually going to be, and then this happened. But yeah, I definitely feel like he wasn't an evil person. He was maybe an idiot, a bit of an idiot, or a misguided person who made a mistake and then was never able to get his way out of that mistake, and it ultimately cost him his life. This was a good episode, much better than the previous one. I mean, again, there were good parts of the previous one. There were just also parts that, as you know, I think that they definitely did not intend for Candace's dad to be like this when they mentioned him in the past. That's also okay, because they didn't really see him or mention him. It's not like we'd had much interaction with him. We just heard Candace, and we could very well argue that she was lying, or she kind of, "Oh, my dad's ill," like, is how she tells herself things. Hated the Lana and Sarah scene. They're doing okay with the aftermath of it, but I still hated it. Okay, I love the show still. These characters are everything to me, and that's why it upset me so much when I feel like, in my opinion, they made Lana and Sarah so very, especially Lana, so very out of character, because I love these characters and we've watched their relationship strengthen and grow, and then they just did this thing that was just so absolutely out of character. Hey, this was a very good episode. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of all of my reactions to Superman and Lois, including all of season 3, on my Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.